So I think we're live, right? We're broadcast is live. Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're logging in from. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the Open Business Council Summit and a special panel that we have focused on smart cities and the circular economy. My name is Jeremy Lustman. I'm a partner with the global law firm of DLA Piper, and I head up our Israel practice group. I'm based in Tel Aviv, originally from the US. I moved to Tel Aviv about 12 years ago to start our practice, which is very heavily focused on the technology sector here. And we've had great privilege over the last number of years of being very entrenched in the world of smart cities and various technologies that emanate from this geography. It's a real privilege to be here with you all today. And I want to thank my good friend, Peter Chun, for inviting me to this forum and welcoming me and really giving me the opportunity to interact with some wonderful and esteemed professionals. I wanted to just, I think we've had some last minute changes to our panel. I wanted to introduce our panel. We have Professor Joao Amato Neto, who's a PhD and specialist of sustainability and circular economy, who's based in the University of Sao Paulo. We have William Wu, who's president of 14City, who now happens to be, I believe, in Asia, but is normally based in London. And we are also joined by Peter Chun himself, who is the president of the World Smart Cities Forum. We never know where Peter is exactly in the world. I think now he's in New York. He travels the world, I think, more than any of us on this line combined. But it's a real privilege to welcome each of the panelists. So obviously, we have a very important topic, the whole concept of smart cities, which on so many levels has created such an impact in the world with respect to sustainability, with respect to conservation, and its impact is truly, it's had such a strong impact when it comes to office design, when it comes to how people are interacting in their own cities with their utilities. It's thinking about mobility. It's thinking about safe water, waste management. There's so many areas that touch upon our day-to-day lives that are subsumed within smart cities. And we've seen, thankfully, many, many examples of various cities around the world that have incorporated such amazing technologies that truly have moved the needle and have made various cities much more sustainable. And we'll talk about specific examples. And there are a lot of points and questions to discuss, certainly, especially in the midst of the year that we've all just had with COVID. Some of us are coming out of COVID a little bit quicker. Some geographies are certainly very much still within it, but understanding how smart cities are working in the wake of COVID and what's changed and whatnot is something that we'll definitely touch upon with our panelists. So the format for the next 45 minutes or so, 45, 50 minutes, is each of our three panelists has a presentation. I'm gonna turn over the mic to each of them. They'll talk for somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes, say, and then we'll go right to we'll have three presentations consecutively, and then hopefully we'll have time at the end for 10, 15 minutes of some panel discussion and Q&A and whatnot. So with that, I am going to turn over the mic and ask Joao to please present what he has, and then we'll go from there. William will follow Joao, and Peter will go last. Okay, thank you all.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this Open Business Summit. It's a very pleasure to share our research, our knowledge concerning to circular economy and sustainable production system. Specifically, I'm going to talk about eco-industrial parks and sustainable local development, talking about some principles, models, and applications. This research was supported by National Council for Scientific and Technological Development in Brazil, I'm from University of São Paulo, Department of Production Engineering and Polytechnic School. And nowadays I'm the president of the board of directors of Vanzolini Foundation. That's a foundation that promotes some connection between university and the community and the society and so on. I'd like to share my presentation. I have to click share, share screen. Let me see. Can you see my slide here?
Not yet. Not yet. I don't see it.
I don't know. Okay, maybe now. And now?
Yes, we see it.
Okay. So, as I said before, I'm going to talk about this issue, eco-industrial parks and sustainable local development, and try to point out some principles, models, and application. First of all, I'd like to talk about the framework that support this work. As I said, I'm talking about industrial ecology based on circular economy and sustainability principles. And you can deal with this issue in three kinds of dimensions. The first one is in the firm level, where you can deal with eco-design for new products, also deal with pollution prevention, eco-efficiency, and green accounting. In the second level is the second between firms. This is the exact point that I'm talking about. Talking about eco-industrial parks and industrial symbiosis. In fact, this is the main concept that support this study, this work. Also, we can deal with product life cycles and collective initiatives. Collective initiatives in order to promote the sustainable production system or closed loop production models. And also in the third level, we can deal with circular economy and sustainability in the level of global or regional, talking about, for example, with material and energy flow studies and dematerialization and decarbonization. But in this study, we will concentrate in the second level, talking about industrial ecology between firms, okay? The main concept here is industrial ecology, understood as a branch of environment science that analyze the industrial system in an integrated way. That's it, considering its involvement with surrounding biophysical environment, as well as the ecosystem in which it is inserted. It falls within the context of circular economy and sustainable development policies. Again, the concept of industrial symbiosis could be understood as association or connection of companies' process in which a way that the residues of one plant, one company, serve as input, as a raw material for the other, in a many relationships as necessary so that, ideally, a closed circle is constituted without waste. The target is zero waste in this concept. So based on the last two concepts, we can see the concept of eco-industrial parks. Eco-industrial parks is a community of businesses cooperating with each other and with local society to share resources efficiently, resources as information, energy, water, materials, infrastructure, and natural resources, leading to economic gains in terms of quality of environment, and in terms also human resource equity in businesses and the local community. So eco-industrial parks are based on the principles of industrial ecology and industrial symbiosis, as I mentioned before, suggesting an industrial system operating similarly a natural ecological system. Okay, let's continue. Here we can point out some main objectives of cooperations or symbiosis between local actors in a specific region. The objectives are recycling of materials and energy reuse, cooperation for improvement and integration of production processes, cooperation in development of sustainable products, adherence to a common social responsibility, and promoting of intercompany learning in the generation of knowledge. Here we can analyze the industrial symbiosis in the eco-industrial parks in three different stages, in three different parts. The first one, the stage of beginning, companies begin to share resources for different purposes, a planned cooperation. In the first stage, in the second stage is the stage we can call discovery, when we find evidence that some networks generate positive and negative externalities. Externalities is a concept very important in this discussion within circular economy and sustainable production system. Okay, and the last stage is the stage of integration. The network expansion is intentionally conducted by some institutionalized organization. So we can show you some cases, some international cases of industrial parks. We map 26 different eco-industrial parks in China. There are eco-industrial parks shared in all China territory. Okay, if you have some time, you can discuss some particular cases. The next case, in fact, is the most famous case of symbiosis, industrial symbiosis, and eco-industrial parks. Is the case of Kalundborg eco-industrial in Denmark. These eco-industrial parks start with the energy power station, is the center of this arrangement. And after that, since the 1980s, it was developed, these eco-industrial parks, with buying and selling of byproducts between companies in energy, construction, agriculture, food farming, oil, pharmaceutical, and fertilizer sectors. It's a very, very complex industrial parks and a very well-developed eco-industrial parks in Denmark. In fact, this eco-industrial is a kind of paradigm for all the world, all recent experience in this issue. The beginning, as I said before, we had the installation of Dong Energy Power Station, played a key role in promoting industrial symbiosis between companies in that region, and a growing number of companies are being attracted to that region. This growth has been coordinated very well by supra-business entities, including the local government. We can point out two important institutions that support these eco-industrial parks in Kalundborg. First one is the Environment Club, which has become an important forum for discussions between representatives of companies, local public authorities, the municipality, agriculture, and various organizations linked to environmental protection. The second important institution is Kalundborg Symbiosis Center, which has its main mission the elaboration of research projects for the implementation of new industrial plants in these eco-parks, based on the analysis founded on scientific and technological aspects. Then another important case is in Canada, the Burnside Eco Park, Industrial Eco Park. Burnside, one of Canada's largest industrial parks, covers a section of 2,500 hectares, more than 2,000 companies and approximately 300,000 people are located in these eco parks. Companies present in Burnside are from different sectors, with 36 printing companies, 21 paint and link distribution companies, 19 chemical companies, 20 computer assembly and repair companies, 32 automotive repair facilities, and 70 metal processing companies. In addition to this, we can see that Burnside also has a wide range of companies in the food services, healthcare, communications, constructions, retail, and transport sectors. Here, the last case is the eco parks, Brazilian eco parks. In Benevides, Benevides is a small city located in the north of Brazil, in the Amazon region, in Pará state. Aligned with the goal of attracting new investments and business to the Amazon, the eco park in Benevides will also have space to accommodate other companies interested in making sustainable use of social biodiversity assets in an area of 172 hectares. This project of Benevides Eco Industrial Parks was inspired by the concept of industrial symbiosis, again, which connects companies with complementary needs, generating synergy and greater efficiency in the use of research, water, energy, and so on. This is how the Vice President of Operations and Logistics of Natura, this is the name of the company that promoted these eco-industrial parks. Natura is a company that produces perfumes and cosmetics products. Okay, it's very well-known company in terms of circular economy and sustainability here in Brazil. It's very known company. As a conclusion, we can say that generally the real adherence of these industrial formations, eco-industrial parks, based on symbiosis, industrial symbiosis concepts, are linked to circular economy and industrial symbiosis, as I said. Is still in an embryonic stage nowadays. As for the degree of development of process integration in the researched eco-industrial parks, most cases are still in the embryonic stages, sprouting. Few industrial parks have evolved to the intermediate stages, uncovering, and only a few of them are at a higher stage of development and evolution of industrial symbiosis, when you can see embeddedness and institutionalization stages. Among these cases, among these eco parks, there are the eco-industrial parks of Kalundborg, as I mentioned before, the most famous and certainly the most integrated eco-industrial parks. But we can point out also some Chinese eco parks, Suzhou New District and Suzhou Industrial Parks, and also Giteng Group and Taihin. Just to conclude, Kalundborg remains as a world paradigm concerning integration among industrial factors and among these industries and other organizations based on a community and local government. Okay, this is a short presentation. Thank you very much. This is my email and the name of my research group, Cooperation Networks and Knowledge Management. Thank you very much for the opportunity. If you have any questions, I'm okay, just to interrupt.
Thanks, Joao. Thank
you very much for the audience. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
That was fascinating. What a great presentation. What a great presentation. And you touched upon really so many important topics. And I'm sure, I don't know if there is a framework on our platform right now for lots of questions. Maybe we'll monitor the chat, but if not, the fact that you were able to provide your contact information, hopefully anyone who has any questions for Joao we'll be able to send anything to him directly. Now we're gonna.
Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Of course, thank you. Now we're gonna turn over the mic to William Wu of 14City.
Okay, so let me share my screen, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. And my name is William, and I'm currently located in Shanghai, but most of my time was based in London. But just due to the pandemic, I just get my family back to Shanghai and spend a couple of months right here, just also get some business ongoing as well. So let me introduce from an industrial perspective, maybe, on the smart cities and circular economy. And I'm trying to share my screen. And hopefully you can see my screen now.
Not yet. There we go. There we go. Looks like,
right.
Yeah, now we see it.
Okay. So I'm going to introduce 14City as a one-stop technological solution platform, which presents lots of the smart city solutions. But that's partially, to be based on my personal experiences in the past, so that I will give you an overview about where do I come from, so that you know who is talking to you actually. And then I will use a few smart city industrial cases that I personally have delivered and in the past to give a flavor about my perspectives on smart cities, especially. Okay. So very quickly about me. So I was a graduate from Imperial College London in the UK, and currently the managing director for 14City. I'm also on a part-time basis as the AI expert advisor for the EIT, as part of the European Commission organization. And I've spent most of my time in my life at Cisco. So as a part of the original strategic innovation group in Cisco, based in London, and really looking at multi-million pounds innovation projects over there, and lots of them are smart city related, so not necessarily all at the scale of a city level, a town level, but actually lots of the technological innovation projects we have got involved in are part of the smart cities, talking about EVs and the energy trading between electrical vehicles and the national grid, for example, talking about the smart building management systems, IoT sensor, cybersecurities, and also talking about the connecting autonomous vehicles. We do have got test beds in London, Olympic Park. So these are a part of the smart city branch, but we also have got a smart city project running in the past, and currently got a few incentives afterwards. So I'll give you a bit of flavor on that as well. And also I'm an existing advisor for Imperial College Dyson School. You probably have heard about Dyson, definitely. And also, a couple of the other small titles which could potentially expand my remit to help the world and to help different regions to grow their understanding and also development for the smart cities, for example. So I'll jump straight to a case before I introduce 14City or whatsoever. So what I'm going to talk about today is the CityVerve, and CityVerve is a Manchester-based IoT city demonstrator initiative. So when I talk about its initiative, it was an ongoing, so it was initiated about 5 years ago, but it is still an ongoing effort. And that actually implies that, any smart town development, any smart city development, or even when Professor Joao, he mentioned about the eco parks in China, which I have quite a lovely experiences in engaging with lots of them, actually, understanding what their perspectives, understanding what do they need when they actually build up the eco parks. And these are all the ongoing and long-term development kind of exercise. It's never been a short-term exercise for smart city developments. So although the project itself has a timeline and it was initiated 5 years ago, but it is an ongoing exercise for the region. But CityVerve as itself is a project. It's a project which has attracted about £60 million from the UK government, and also jointly with the 20 delivery partners into a single project. Whereas in this project, Cisco is the industrial lead for the project. It is built in a 2-kilometer square innovation corridor in Manchester, so along the Oxford Road, and you do have got a variety of the setup around the road. So you do have got university campus, you have got about 3 or 4 hospitals, and also you definitely have businesses, you know, residential areas, and also an industrial park, so-called Manchester Science Park, in this 2-kilometer region. The project was delivered by these 20 partners, and you can see that it's a combination of public sectors and private sectors. And so we have got City Council, we have got Transport for Greater Manchester, we have got Central Manchester University Hospitals, which is, we call it CMFT, and we also have got some large organizations like Cisco and BT, and also Siemens are leading the angles of the project. And inevitably, if you are looking at the smart city solutions, you know, having the right interface with the individuals, with people on the ground, we're talking about human-centered design. You really need to focus on the human needs. You talk about the persona design, to look at the requirement from individuals in the society for the smart city requirements. So we do have got a bunch of SMEs working on this project as well, looking at different perspectives. So for example, SatSafe is a vehicle device sensing company, and looking at how they would be able to strengthen the driver behavior in the local regions. A lot of the young drivers, they don't really, you know, they are, because of their age, they probably don't drive very safely around their car or for their cars in the city, and that's an issue for Manchester. We also are looking at the water infrastructure in the city, using the building management systems as an example. So an organization called Sparta Digital, and they are looking at how they would be able to implement the water sensors to detect the water temperature in the pipes of a building management system, and to be able to smartly, remotely, and control the water temperature at the right threshold, in between the right thresholds, that would ensure the drinking water to be safely delivered to the buildings, to the spaces, and to individuals. We also have got universities in the project as well, which I will skip, but there are 2 universities. One is Manchester University, and the other is Manchester Metropolitan University. So apparently we have a program to deliver the project, which is quite important, because if you don't have a skeleton, you would always be stuck with a lot of the talking rather than get the hands onto the jobs. So what we did is, I personally remember I stayed in the Manchester hotel for about 2 months, because I was based in London. And the reason why I was staying over there for about 2 months was because I continuously conducted a number of the workshops with all the partners to flesh out what kind of use cases, what kind of technologies that could be bundled together to deliver the target for the smart city program. And then we decided that we would have 4 pillars right here, as you can see on the screen. And initially, we have got about 150 use cases, you know, starting from all the requirements from the city councils, from the local individuals, from the local businesses, to the narrow down, the realizable, feasible solutions that can actually happen on the ground. And we sort of narrow that down in between 15 to 20 use cases that we actually deliver on the ground. So I won't go into too much detail, just comes from time. And these are the 4 verticals that we have looked into. And you can see every single bullet point right here, actually including the use cases that we actually had got involved, combining the technologies and the user requirements on the ground. So apparently you need to, as I mentioned, you know, you have to got a program, a structure to be able to deliver a vast smart city program. On the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, you've got to design and engage, looking at how would you be able to design, how would you be able to engage different type of stakeholders to cope with their requirements. But on the right-hand side, you have to intersect with the development and deployment, cybersecurities, digital privacies, trustworthiness. These are the highlighted issues for every single use case that you want to really look into. But actually, they are quite different when you talk about different use cases. You need to look at the common systems, the network and infrastructure, data management, and analytics. Please bear in mind that, you know, when you talk about the smart city program, you're actually talking about the integration of different data silos, the current siloed data sets, databases, to put them together to not only integrate them, for example, in the transport sector, but also horizontally intersect between the transport and energy and environment for the smart city use case development. So to be able to integrate these different type of data sets is a technological issue, but more importantly, it is a political and also a social science issue that you will need to set up the standards and the game rules for managing the data and for managing the analytics. In other words, the question is, what would you be able to open? What about private data? What about the public data? How would you be able to intersect them together into the purpose for delivering those use cases? So then we talk about development applications, we talk about interoperabilities and common data handling. And don't forget, what is quite important is the bottom end, is the implementation and evaluation. So we talk about how would you be able to evaluate the impact of those smart city use cases. You need to look at the baselines, starting from day one, to look at what's the current baselines for the use cases that you are tapping to. And then you want to really look at the benefits realization for your smart city use cases creation. All right, just conscious of time, I'll skip a little bit over. And also importantly is your public awareness. So you want to raise the public awareness to really engage more public, more individuals like you and me, the citizens who actually living in the city, who care about the ongoings happening around them, so that you want to increase the influence of the sphere of the influence of what you're doing in our smart city program. So that's what we do. We look at the interviews. We have conducted dozens of the interviews to broadcast the perspectives from transport authorities, perspectives from the city authorities, perspectives from the technologists, and also the individuals on the ground, and integrate them into and also broadcast them through different channels. Right. Okay. So hopefully that gives you a bit of flavor about a smart city program we have come across, and we use that as 5 years ago we used that as one of the flagship projects to continue our understanding of delivering the actual grounded and influential smart city programs afterwards. So that actually creates One for City, and this is what One for City is developed for. So we have got involved in lots of the innovative technological solutions. As mentioned, it doesn't always need to be on a smart city level, because on a town level, on a city level, it's pretty high. It really involves lots of stakeholder management. But actually, if you look at the individual technological solutions, for example, flood management systems, the risk management for flooding, for example, as mentioned, the healthy agent in local regions, looking at the urban areas, semi-urban, rural areas, the social care management systems are quite different for different types of locations. And also looking at the investment incentives. Again, the rural area and the urban area infrastructure investments will be slightly different in terms of incentives. And that would also influence how would you be able to deliver the smart city related solutions as well. So that's why I'm a person who is firmly believe that it's not just about smart cities, it is also about the key elements, different types of elements which are consisted within a smart city program. Okay, so I'll skip these. So some of the key competencies that One for City is about. This is more or less about the One for City firm philosophy. So we have got involved in a award-winning exercise. We developed a smart town actually dated back to 2018, and we won the top 5 in 19, and we won the top 1 in 2020 as a smart city, as a smart town, a ranking exercise in China. We also got involved in some China UK Newton Fund to look at a smart farming exercise, a smart farming project, combining the strengths from both the UK and Chinese based organizations to co-develop a smart farming solution together. From One for City perspective, we try to use different products to facilitate the development of smart cities. So first one is this technology innovation search engine. We try to consolidate our understandings and also the innovation technological solutions onto a single database, and then flash it out and then output it into a search engine, so that once you use the search engine, you would be quickly to get into the category of the sectors you want to flip into. So for example, if you're interested in environmental parts in smart cities, or if you are more or less into the energy sector underneath the smart city program, you could use the search engine to look into the existing international solutions, technologies coming from our database to find a fit with what you are looking for. We also have got a data exchange platform which has been used in both the UK and the Chinese smart cities to deliver the data management analytics, which I highlighted just now. It's a key question to look at, different incentives for managing those different data sets coming from different sources. Sometimes they are public data, sometimes they are private data, and you do have got different constraints for managing those different data from different sources, which is a key source for delivering any use cases underneath the smart city program. So there will be key steps to develop any smart city solutions, which has been highlighted right here. So master planning, design, data architecture, R&D collaboration, commercialization, and continuous evaluation, which is quite consistent with the logic, with the philosophy we have learned from the past smart city program, as I just exampled in the CityWorld project. Here is some of the smart city projects we have delivered. One is in China, Zhoushan Changzhi Island. As mentioned, this is the award-winning project we have proudly got involved into. We also helped the UK Buckinghamshire to construct their city platform. Apparently, they've got about 11 different siloed, different siloed, different silo units underneath a local authority business as usual exercises, activities all the time, and they want to look at what's the possibilities to build up a horizontal landscape data sets and landscape information platform, and we help them to create that. We also got involved in Jiangxi, which is a province in China, again to develop and to plan and develop their smart town over there as well. And I also mentioned about the farming project as well. Okay, so I think I probably will just stop here, and I'm more than happy really to discuss any of these things more into details, and happy to reconvene back to you, Jeremy. Thank you.
Thanks, William. That was really great, and I think that your presentation really reflects a very important characteristic of smart cities, in the sense that it's not all or nothing, right? Like it all boils down to the components. And at the end of the day, if you're trying to affect change, and you're recognizing that, when you're dealing at the intersection of technology, academia, and government, things aren't changing overnight. And so you have to find a project or two projects to be able to run with, and be able to prove adoption, and be able to prove that there's opportunity here. And so what struck me just even on your last slide was, the specific examples, whether it was the potato disease, whether it was a specific product like potatoes, or whether it's a specific industry like retail or catering that you had on the Manchester side. I think pick your industry, pick your product, try to develop something around it to show adoption, and to show that there's benefit and savings, etc. And then hopefully, that creates an aura and an effect that continues to spread, and, gets more and more people to buy into the concept. So great job. That was really a great presentation. Okay, we're now going to turn it over to Peter, who's going to provide our last presentation. Peter, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. So thank you very much for the introduction, Jeremy, and very appreciated your all dedications and presentations from Joao and William. So it's very exciting, the presentations that we can just probably maybe matching, together, and probably maybe can just discuss more after my speech and with the during the panel discussion. So let me share with you about what we just do now for the smart city projects around the world. So currently we are working on the projects in 7 different countries, and one of the significant projects that we are actually working on with the master plan and also the implementation level of the establishment of the small city is in Vietnam and Ukraine, and here in the United States, in New York City, probably state, and also some boroughs in London. We have been partnering up with many different organizations, including the IT Department of International Trade of the UK government, and we have mandates from the multiple central governments and municipalities. For example, Hanoi City government, we have partners up. We have mandates from them and to initiate the small city in Hanoi since last year. We are actually in the midst of providing the implementation level of master plan by the end of this year. And luckily we have the signing agreement actually next Tuesday with the central government of Ukraine. So throughout that, we have some sort of this accomplishment to making us kind of blueprints for the communities and local citizens and the government, the bureaucrats, and how to just engage themselves with the next level of the small city, because we all know that we have suffered from the COVID-19 pandemic. So the definition and approachness of the small city will be a little bit different from the past. So this is something that we're trying to work on right now. So I'd like to share the slides. Just let me know if you see this.
Yep, we see that.
Okay. All right, so we have 3 different entities. So World Smart Cities Forum is London-based nonprofit organization. So every mandate agreement we're dealing with, the local governments and central governments based on the agreements with the World Smart Cities Forum. So other 2 entities, Archive Labs based in New York and Accentry based in both London and New York, they have different roles. And Accentry, for example, it has nurtured many different the tech startups and SMEs around the world. And specifically, we went through the Level 39 ecosystem, which is Europe's largest open tech cluster in London. More than 400 startups throughout the ecosystem, about more than 13 companies become unicorns. So we're trying to combine the smart city initiatives with innovation ecosystem throughout the disruptive technologies around the world. Archive Labs' major goals and mission is to raise the funds to support the SPC, which is a special purpose corporation, to secure the financial resources as well as the many different the resources to support the projects for the cities and the central government. And 4 major functions out of this Archive Labs or Smart Cities Forum Consortium is we deliver the master plan. There are 2 different types of master plan. The first one is basic concept design, and the second one is implementation level. And also the part of the SPC to giving the specific goals and the missions to every stakeholders of the SPC. Smart City Tech Sandbox is one of the distinctive the characteristic of what we are trying to do. Basically, about 30% of the budget will go directly to the startups, which they actually go through the core programs. So 12 months is actually default the time period of the core programs to validate their solutions and technology and services. And we also do technology transfer and also commercializations, and also the Smart Space, the Global Scale Fund. And we also helping the city government and municipalities to raise the scale up fund to give away some specific money to the stakeholders inside of the projects as well. And philosophy is very simple thing, because a lot of countries in Asia and even Africa and the Middle East, they actually focusing on how to build the new development type of the projects in their own countries or cities. But most important thing is just like a fingerprints of the human being, cities cannot be the same, because every city has their own culture, history, and economic level. So we're trying to embrace the more people coming in to experience what the smart city is really about. So our philosophy is based on the people or the human or citizens put as one the upfront lines. So people centricity or human centric city kind of design is something that we are pursuing right now. So 4 other angles to support this kind of concept. Of course, we need to have the specific data, so which is public data or even private data. So data-driven economy is one of the things that we have to accomplish throughout the projects or initiatives. Technologies and innovation is also the key, because every city needs to be much more, sustainable economically. So trying to make the city much more economic, sustainable in a way of the innovation and also the new technologies. And environmental friendly ecosystem is also very important. So that's why everybody's talking about ESG these days. It's not really, easy to say this environmental friendly ecosystem, but this is something that the human being or human race needs to pursuing that throughout the smart city initiatives everywhere. Connecting the global cities, because the one smart city cannot be the big market. So to collaborate among the cities and doing this kind of initiatives eventually will produce the very better and strong environment and also the market itself. So this is something that very important to support the concept of people centricity. Let me just give you a couple of examples that we are actually working on right now. So one is Vietnam and another one is Ukraine. So both countries are developing countries stage, but it's also they are located very, very important reasons. Also, they are very much potential. That's why we are actually really interested in engaging this initiative. So since back in 2016. So vision for example, vision for Ukrainian smart city is smart city and innovation hub in Eastern Europe. So we have a lot of potentials in the Eastern Europe area, even also the Middle East area. So we trying to balance the economic power or the level of the citizenship and also innovation in Europe to much more focusing on the Eastern Europe area. Core value is pursuit of happiness and sustainable sharing economy and job creation, and clean, eco-friendly city innovation, future city technologies. Those are 4 the values that the city of any cities in Ukraine. We're actually focusing on Lviv and Kiev, but these 2 cities could be maybe achieving this kind of goals within the next 5 years. Location in Vietnam, we targeted on the major district of Hanoi, which is the capital city of Vietnam. Back in 2018, Donald Trump of the United States and also the leader of Kim Jong-un of North Korea, they actually had a summit talk. So this area is very meaningful because it's old city, but it's diversity existing there, because you can see that Western type of culture mixed with local conventional culture combined. So most of the people like traveling to Vietnam, they visit this area. So even though the population is only 400,000 people living in there, but more than 2 million people annually, they visit this area, this district, to feel the real culture of Vietnam. So we are focusing on here as the urban regeneration and also digital transformation. The main themes in Hanoi Smart City, for example, even it applies to Ukrainian cities as well. And smart mobility, smart water, digital smart city, energy efficiency, safe and living. Those are 4 different concepts. Then under these pillars, we actually define subcategories, which will become the specific projects in the end. Also, we can talk about the themes, and we can talk about the technologies. As I said, technology is not the major goals of the smart city. It's actually this, the people and citizens and governments, they can take advantage of the technologies and solution, because just like a human being, and these technologies and solutions also, eventually evolve. So based on the evolution, we probably just build up the better ecosystem that any kind of disruptive technology solution can be applied to the city. So, recently we are working on, building the better IoT systems in the city, and AI, cloud, blockchain, big data, and also other network can be, embedded in the city in terms of when it comes to technologies we're talking about. There are many different types of services technology can be embedded in the city, but it depends on how we define the projects, which is new development. We can call it as maybe green field projects, urban regeneration, or brownfield projects. It depends on defining the city or district, and we can probably bring the some of the distinctive technologies as one of the top priorities in that area. There are 5 common grounds for these 2 initiatives and projects in Vietnam and Ukraine. So we're trying to build up the innovative tech smart city, or smart tech city, with bringing up with smart city tech sandbox and open data, open science, digital twin kind of concept, as also the open factory. So these 3 things are the kind of engines to support the economic ecosystem and the platform, because the city should be independent in terms of the creating of jobs, or boosting up the industry as the kind of the future engine for the city. And open big data city, which is also data market, is very important, because people are not really aware of what the data is really meaningful to the citizens or the people living in the city. I think that the sharing the data, and also the taking advantage of the data from private sectors as well as public sectors are very important. So trying to create the kind of the hub or the models or platform to how the data can be shared, and also can be the real businesses for the SMEs or the tech startups. And the Living Lab Hub or network, we just call it as connecting the global cities. As I said, the smart city initiatives around the world, I don't believe that there's like such a big success model at the moment. Every smart city project is an ongoing process. But in the end, these cities should be sharing their experiences, and also their the successful cases or even failure cases. So trying to bring the cities to find out the mutual interest or the common ground together, then we can actually create the better markets, or the innovation friendly markets. Then this is something that we have to pursue as well. Civic experience innovation technologies. I also think that almost more than 70% of the concept of the smart city cannot be seen, which is invisible, and only 20-30% will be visible. But it should be spread out and also shared by the citizens of stakeholders of smart cities, and the people should experience what they're trying to use. Even we're just talking about sharing car systems or electric car systems, and even the protecting themselves from coronavirus, for example. And so, and how to just share the data, and also the how to drink the the clean water, for example, throughout the water purification systems, or energy, and also the mobility and transportation systems, and even security, and any kind of the technology solutions of life and culture. I think that this is also important, that people easily understand what kind of values they can get from their experience or the usage of those kind of concepts. I mean, the solutions from the smart city projects. And as I said, 20-30% of smart city can be visible, and I see that these are something that the people can easily understand. This is a smart city as an infrastructure. So some of the developing countries, as well as developed countries, they have to move on. They have to move forward to shift their conventional economy to the next level, or small jump or quantum jump throughout the new experience. I think that a lot of cases, even in the United States, you can see that also a lot of efforts by Tesla or Amazon. Even we just like sharing this, materials and the discussions throughout the StreamYard and Zoom. And so this is actually a new experience and based on the infrastructure. So this is actually totally depends on the definitions of the local governments and also local the communities. We can actually define the infrastructures for each one of them. Smart City Tech Sandbox is very important as well. As I said, about 30% of the budget should go directly to the startups, which is actually very highly successful or proven themselves in a way of providing their solutions and services into the public. So we just going through the specific time period to prove their solutions and technologies to the public, and trying to help them out to solve their problems, foster them, and eventually validate everything. And about 25%, 30% out of them, they deserve to win the bid for the smart city project as well. So this is a basic diagram and how the candidates of startups they actually go through. It takes about 1-2 years. They jumping into the smart city tech sandbox and every different projects, and they just develop their services and solutions in some certain level, and they can be picked by the city government or SPC, and eventually they secure the projects, and they dedicate themselves into the smart city initiatives, and in the end they can actually raise more fund from the syndicate fund of the smart city, the entities, and also they can relocate themselves into the other smart city projects. They can expand themselves to the global market. And this is official Smart City Tech Sandbox platform. We're just going through Accenture.co. We're just dealing with some of the projects here in New York City throughout the Prof Tech Hub, and also Ukrainian smart cities and Vietnamese smart cities. This is the flow chart of the Smart City Tech Sandbox and investment. And also SPC and investment flow can be based on PPP level. So we anticipate about 20-25% from the government end, and the rest of them from the public, private sectors, to achieve the very strong goals and from both sides. And also we anticipate new special law on small cities and deregulation scheme will be also applied to this kind of initiatives as well. I think I have to stop here, so I'll be glad to share my insights more during our panel discussions. Thank you very much, and back to you, Jeremy.
Thanks, Peter. That was fascinating. Really, each of your presentations was superb and enlightening, and there's a lot for us to all learn. Unfortunately, I mean, they were so great and there was so much detail, but unfortunately we're nearing the end of our session and we only have a few minutes left. I'll just ask maybe 1 or 2 quick questions for your quick reflection. One that comes to mind is the more that I learn about smart cities and the more that I learn about circular economy and what's going on, you know, on one hand, it's beyond impressive, it's beyond encouraging and empowering, and obviously it's dramatically helped so many cities. On the other hand, I'm curious as to how you each think about conflicts that arise within the context of a smart city. You could have conflicts vis-a-vis the government. You might have, for example, the municipal government, the local government is very much behind the smart city concept, wants to put dollars behind it, wants to create these partnerships, but there might be competing interests at the state and federal level. You know, when I think about this past year and you look at cities like New York, for example, the city of New York was at odds with the state of New York, that was at odds with the United States federal government. I know that's just one example, but I know that there are many other circumstances where the interests of the city might not necessarily be in sync with the interests of, you know, the broader community. And so that's one type of conflict. You could have conflict vis-a-vis big business. You know, I saw various statistics that 75–80% of the income coming into municipalities oftentimes come through big oil and raw materials and end products that create waste, etc. And that obviously is counter to the concept of circularity and what smart city is trying to do. So on one hand, you don't want to upset your base in terms of the income that's coming in. On the other hand, of course, you want to promote sustainability. And then the last one that I saw was just as an example, the indigent community. You know, the poor, the poor in any given city. You already have with them an informal circular economy. They're buying used goods. They're going into thrift shops, etc. And you know, I saw various points that for cities that move forward in the world of smart technology and circularity. So is that going to increase the cost of circular products? You know, you might have in certain cities, you might have demolished buildings that from a sustainability perspective, you might want to repurpose into a new set of apartment buildings or something like that. But on the other hand, you have poor people that are living in slums, and maybe you want to open up these buildings to them. And again, New York City just as an example of what happened at the beginning of COVID. So it's a broader question as to how you deal with conflict and sort of in your vision of smart city. How do you do that? Again, we only have 3-4 minutes, so maybe I'll just ask each of you to just quick thought that sort of jumps to your mind. Why don't we, Joao, why don't we come to you first? You're on mute. You're still on mute, Joao. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to participate with this summit again and to share our knowledge and opinion about this important issue concerning to smart cities and sustainable cities also. In my opinion, there are some, of course, convergence between these two dimensions, the smart cities and sustainable cities. We can deal with these different fields of research and different areas in terms of public and private actions. Okay, but I think that a lot of elements of smart cities, a lot of electronic devices, and a lot of technologies concerning to smart cities conception would be improve the sustainable cities, sustainable system that we can apply to improve the quality of life of the population, mainly in big cities like São Paulo, New York, London, or in big cities in China, in Asia, around the world in general. But I think there are 4 main actions that we can improve in terms of to reach the circular economy and sustainable cities mainly. The first one is recycling. Recycling actions, mainly when we refer to the manufacturing system. There are a lot of very important initiatives of companies. The Natura that I mentioned before, that there is a plant in the north of Brazil, is one of very important case, but there are a lot of examples in clothing and food companies here in Brazil. The second action is the reuse materials, reuse energy, reuse water, and also this is an important approach in terms of manufacturing production system, in terms of closed loop production system. The third one is reduce, a lot of actions to reduce the consumption of water, energy, and raw material also. And the last one is remanufacturing. Remanufacturing, I think it's the most important and most complex action in terms of a circular economy and closed loop production system. A lot of automakers around the world are developing some new projects in order to reach this kind of level of circular economy.
Mm-hmm.
The remanufacturing system. Also, a lot of electronic companies that produce a lot of electronic devices, computers, iPhones, and so on, are developing some projects in the next future to promote the remanufacturing system also.
Joao,
I believe this is some points. Okay.
This is amazing. Yeah, perfect. William, how about you? Any kind of and I think we'll make these last thoughts just because I think the technology is going to cut us off in the next 2-3 minutes. So, right, William.
Okay.
I'll try my best. So, yeah, thank you, Joel. Great insight. So very quickly for me, the challenges for smart cities, the first step is really to define the boundaries. When I talk about boundaries, it could be physical boundaries. So we're talking about whether it's on the city level, or it's actually a town level, or actually it's an eco park level, or it's a street level, for example. We have come across the projects for all these 4 levels, actually, from my personal experience. And that's quite important because the involved stakeholders for those different levels of smart city development will be quite different. And that means the interest coming from those different stakeholders will be different. So that's actually a challenge number 1, is how would you like to define the boundaries of your smart city program as a starting point? But secondly is what we have experienced in the past, again, is the conflict of interest from different stakeholders again. For example, when we look at the innovation projects, smart medium enterprises, they do have the interest to really quickly demonstrate what they are capable of, and then they hope that they will be able to use the smart city program to engage with the key local authorities to commercialize their solutions. And that's what they do, because they don't have much resources to spend too much time on it. So we need to understand where do they come from. But from the local authorities, they are more caring about their citizens. They care about the economic and environment and social values happening in their regions. And you need to really be careful about that, because you talk about the cybersecurity, digital privacy, etc. These kind of the ethical, high-level, requirements as well. And lastly is how would you be able to integrate technologies with those requirements? So as mentioned, you do have got the dynamics between the public and private data sharing, and we all know that smart city is the great opportunity for you to reconsolidate the fragmented values or activities happening in your region, and as well as the data. So technologies will be able to help with that. But again, how do you design the technologies to help with that is a key challenge right here. Sure. So I just want to focus on 3 challenges. Thank you.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Peter, last word with you.
It just like, we don't have much time, but I totally agree with William and also their perspectives. And one more thing about the biggest challenge and obstacles for the, building up a better small cities and circular economy is basically the politics and diplomacies and also the funders. So that's why there will be some sort of the collaboration between the the public sectors and private sectors working together. So that is something that should be secured.
100%. Makes sense. Well, I certainly look forward to a follow-up session, because there's a lot more to talk about. There were a lot more questions that I had. I know there was a lot more that you wanted to say, you each wanted to say, and I'm sure that there were plenty of questions from the audience, but we're going to have to cut it short here. Thank all of you very, very much for all of your efforts, for your hard work in preparing and taking the time this afternoon to present. So from what I understand from Peter and others, there are over 100,000 people who have been paying attention and tuning in over the last couple of days to this amazing Open Business Council Summit. I want to thank Joao, William, Peter for your wonderful insights. Again, for all of your efforts. It's been a pleasure spending the last hour with you all, and look forward to our next opportunity together. In the meantime, stay safe, be well, and hope we get to see each other in person soon.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Jeremy. Bye-bye. Thank you,
Bye,
Joe.
everyone.
Thank you, William. Thank you very much.
Thank you.